You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. So FanDuel has updated college football national championship odds. This is pretty common as you move throughout the offseason. There are sort of benchmark moments where you'll see the sports books and the odds makers update odds. Now, if there's a sort of a seminal moment and something happens, a player's injured or something like that, you may see an adjustment on a team. But when you go through, for example, the first transfer portal window, you'll see things adjusted. Spring football, obviously now, because not only with spring football now are you learning more about teams, positionally, who seems to have hit in the portal on certain things, and so you'll see slight adjustments. And so right now, FanDuel has updated their national championship odds. Again, this isn't to make the playoff. This is to win the national championship in college football. And the defending champ Ohio State at plus 600, still the betting favorite, followed by Texas and Oregon, each at plus 650. Now, the most notable thing about them, and next up, which is Georgia at plus 700, this is an easy one, what do Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, and Georgia all have in common? Just from jump, the most obvious thing. You want to take a shot?
New starting quarterback.
Yes. Good job, Muse. Give a ding.
Oh, Vader was down.
That's right. And they were obviously all playoff teams a year ago. All playoff teams a year ago that are all replacing their starting quarterback. The team with the best odds with a returning quarterback is Penn State at plus 800. Drew Aller's back. Then, by the way, Notre Dame replacing their starting quarterback. Tennessee has Nico back. Then Bama, Clemson, and then LSU at plus 2,000. So that's really where I think you draw this line, and you note there's this sort of like notable sort of line of demarcation. Where you've got that handful of favorites, Ohio State, Texas, Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, and then there's sort of like the next tier, which is Notre Dame, Tennessee, Bama, Clemson, LSU. Remember, the thing you got to consider is, this is obvious, but you can't win the college football playoff if you don't make the college football playoff. So in part, these odds aren't necessarily who do we think is the best team, but who's going to get in the playoff. And you have to be in it to have a chance to win it. And so when you look at LSU down at plus 2,000, they've got Texas, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama. 4 SEC teams with better odds than LSU. Texas is replacing Quinn Ewers. Georgia's replacing Carson Beck. Tennessee has Nico back, but there were times that offense struggled. And, of course, Alabama's losing Jalen Milroe. Y'all know how I feel about Bama and all that. By the way, one spot after LSU is Ole Miss at plus 2,500, and they're replacing Jackson Dart. I just can't get past that in this era. Now, I also understand Ohio State had a mercenary quarterback this past year in Howard. So Will Howard comes in, they win the national championship. It's not to say you can't do it with a first-year starter. I also look, though, and go, that is a gigantic unknown. That variable, the most important variable in organized team sports. When you have an established player at that position, surely that has to give you an edge, which is why I would look at Penn State with Drew Aller, Clemson with Cade Klubnik, and LSU with Garrett Nussmeier. Yes, I look at those 3 teams and I'd go, if I'm taking a flyer, it's probably on those teams with the returning quarterback. Now, I will say one of the reasons why I understand why LSU is a little lower. It's because they open at Clemson. Remember, you can't win the championship if you don't make the playoff. So you got to get in. What did last year tell us? The baseline is 10-2. You got to be 10-2 in the regular season. Well, LSU is going to open the regular season having lost 5 straight season openers at Clemson. So if you lose that game, that means over the next 11 games, you got 1 game to play with. 1. After that, you've got no margin for error. You can't slip up at Ole Miss. You're at Alabama. You got what seem like winnable home games, but what if South Carolina or Texas A&M comes to Baton Rouge and beats you? Then you have no margin for error after that. That's no doubt what these odds makers are thinking as they're putting these numbers out. It's why that Clemson game as the opener is so important. I'm not telling you it's a must win because it's not. It's just massively important because if you don't win it, your margin is gone. Your margin for error because you have one game to play with the rest of the way. You got to go 7-1 in the league to get in and then hope you have a good draw and all that sort of stuff. So, I understand the desire to play these games and I want to see them. I've told y'all that. I want to see college football move to a model where the Power 4 only plays the Power 4. The G5 only plays the G5. The FCS only plays the FCS. Like weight classes in fights. Let's make sure everyone is competing with people who are punching at their own weight. But until that day comes, it doesn't serve you to put yourself voluntarily at a disadvantage. Ole Miss satisfied the Power 5 requirement by playing Wake Forest last year, while LSU went out to Vegas and played Southern Cal. You mean to tell me LSU could schedule a game against Duke and it's satisfying the same requirement as going and playing an opener at Clemson? Yeah, do that. Do the thing because, and you could say, and I know this, I hear this all the time, oh, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. People pound the table and they stick their chest out. You know what I'd prefer? I'd prefer winning a championship. That's what I would prefer. Because 100 years from now, nobody's going to ask who you played in the non-conference. They're just going to look up in the stadium and see the national championship flag. Y'all remember 2003? It was my senior year at LSU. I went to every game. Super fun team. You know who their big non-conference game was? Played at Arizona. That Arizona team was hot trash. I think that was John I always confuse if it's Malkovich or Malkovich because there's the actor being John Malkovich. Malkovich. Which is it? I think it's John Malkovich was the coach, right? And then John, you don't know the actor, do you? That's why you're not. Yeah, that's why you're not grabbing your mic. Yeah.
Well, so I was looking up who the Arizona football coach was in 2003, but
I'll just talk to myself. John Malkovich. John McEnroe. $2.
John McEnroe.
John Malkovich was the coach. Anyway.
John McEnroe, the star of Mr. Deeds. John Malkovich was their coach. Malkovich, yeah, sorry. John Malkovich in 2003.
And John Malkovich, or Malkovich, is the actor, being John Malkovich.
I didn't look that up, so no, I guess.
No, I'm telling you, there's a movie called Being John Malkovich.
Gotcha.
And conveniently, you'd mess those names up for obvious reasons because they're very similar.
True.
And all that to say, do we think any less of the 2003 national championship team because they played a garbage Arizona team in Tucson? No, that was awesome. And it will forever be awesome. So go do that. Look, 2019 beat Texas at Texas. That was a hell of a fun game. Gave us 3rd and 17. It's awesome when you play those and you win them. You know what stinks? When you go 9-3 and you lost a non-conference game to open the season and you missed the playoff. That stinks. So don't do that until you have to. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.